Hi, welcome to I'm Making a Mess, and I'm just really glad you're here because I have a lot of stuff that I want to get off my mind, but I am a creature of doing things like in a certain order. And let me say I'm sorry that you can't see my eyes that great. It's because of my glasses and the light that's shining into my window. I'm at my doctor's practice in Manhattan, and I just felt like I really need to get back to my blogging and creating some content, which I've definitely created. I just have not recorded a lot of stuff. I actually have a podcast titled the same, and I've been going back almost to September of last year and recording everything that I've written. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Please remember to share and subscribe because I just think that there's going to come a time when I'm going to have more time on my hands, and I hope that when I do, I create more substance for you guys, and I just get more listeners and viewers and readers. And so that's kind of my hope. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to go back to a post, and I actually read it first before recording it for you guys. And I wish I could go back to this feeling of what I had here, and maybe after reading it to you guys and talking about how I feel right now can give you a really good idea of someone that has depression and anxiety, and how we just kind of go through this this topsy-turvy kind of waves and cycles. But let me get to it so I can get to the me now. This was written on September 17th of 2025, and it's called Me and Salvation. A salvation post. Being more bold than ever, most recently when I talked about alcohol, I had to think what has gotten into me. I had gone to Bible study that night because I really needed some Jesus and connection. It was wonderful. I met some of the nicest women. I've actually been attending this study for a while, or I had been. It was in September. I'll try to read past tense. But it had started actually in midsummer, and so because of, life events, illnesses, activities, they just kept me from going on a regular basis. But when I do get a chance to attend, I really am ever thankful, and in particular when I get to sit next to a couple of women that I know pretty well who just have incredible ways of lifting me up and knowing when I need that, and I hope I do the same for them. But I think what resonated with me the most was the connection that the Bible study served and the story of Ezra. I cannot repeat that story, and especially and particularly now, because I don't know how to capture stories from the Bible that well, especially when they're told just in summary and a matter of minutes. But anyway, I would encourage you to go and read the story of Ezra, because it obviously was really good if it just lifted me up and put me in a place of needing to write about it. But sometimes it's not entirely what we are hearing. It's kind of what we are feeling in the moment. And what I felt in that moment, in that circle of women at the table, was a lot of love. They listened as I carefully answered questions that I put some, real considered thought to them. And, I wanted to make sure that people knew that when I wrote this, it wasn't a, hey, look at me, I'm in a Bible study. that I participated in, and go me for being obedient. I am way, way far from that, as you will come to know, or as you have seen in all of my writings and stuff. But I think that's what makes me who I am. And I don't want to make mistakes, but these days when I do, I try my best to embrace them, because it's a chance, for God to help me shed some layers and for me to molt. And I laughed at that because it was what we referred to in our questions that night. And one of the questions was, in what ways is waiting on the Lord being active? As in, not physically waiting on his return, but perhaps when we pray to him and we're really waiting on his answer. So in what ways are we being active in the wait? And so I said, we don't realize that in the wait, we are shedding the things we don't need anymore, or or how we are, as in molting, like shedding our skin, like leaving the old and making way for the new. I really like that analogy of molting and shedding. I'm surprised that I'm absolutely skinless, or even feelingless or emotionless. Actually, I probably really need to put a reference on that. Feeling and shedding. Feeling, shedding. I need to remember to talk to you guys about after this is done. But anyway, what I don't like is the waiting, but I can say that I am like a lot better at it, probably because I have always things to do while I'm in the wait. So I can kind of continue with life in the process while I'm waiting on God to tell me what is next. And, obviously it doesn't mean we just sit and wait. I mean, that's really hard to do, because when you sit and you're waiting, that's when your mind just kind of really starts to turn and spiral. And I'm telling you what, I have done that numerous times. But fortunately, and hopefully I don't go back to that type of waiting. I don't want to, because it's really hard on your system and your emotions and your gut and everything. But anyway, I do my best to just realize that how much God is part of what happens in my life. And I love it because, it really does kind of remove the control from me, where I have discovered many, many years ago that when I have always tried to control things that happen in my life, it never, ever went well. So, but anyway, it was a really good study, and it was one that I needed. I said in this post that there is a caveat to this, and it's wanting others to know what I have in my life with Christ, that he just paves the way for me, and I don't have to stress as much anymore, because I absolutely still stress quite a bit. I just don't put a lot of focus on it anymore. And I really don't even think I like to use the word stress, because kind of like the word busy, it just kind of implies something kind of negatively to me. But anyway, I know that Christ has done wonders with me at calming my heart and my soul, and I'm just ever so thankful for him. And I just pray that you guys also just really seek Christ and look to him for your salvation and the bliss that comes with living a life with Christ, and how much better it can be. I wrote down a question, as in, am I a model Christian? Absolutely not. I've talked to you a lot about my depression and drinking issues. So, and just because you have those things doesn't make you less of a Christian. It just means that, for me personally, like when I go through these depressive times or when I was drinking a lot of alcohol, I knew then that I was putting my needs first and not allowing Him to do the work in my life. And it just made everything so much harder. So, no, you do not have to be perfect, let alone change every particle of you. However, as you do turn your life over to Christ, He will take account of you and start changing you in ways that even you may not realize. And it's really all for the good. It really is. But anyway, definitely if you just say a prayer similar to, Lord Jesus, I repent of my sins and surrender my life. Please wash me clean. I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and He will work in my heart, my soul. I can pretty much promise you that, good things will happen to you. But like I said, and what I say in all of my recordings, that, Jesus doesn't take all those things away. It's just that, they're always going to be there. It just makes it a little bit easier to go through them when you have somebody with broad shoulders to lean on. But just remember, just as you go through your own journey with Christ, it's not like, you are going to have that same journey as others do. And just because you don't trust Jesus the way others do, or rely on Him like others do, or just because you don't Christian like other Christians do, it doesn't make you any less of a believer or a Christian. I totally own that completely and fully. I love all the gunk that I have going on in my life because it's, excuse me, because, it's always a strong reminder to me that I can't control this life and I have to lean on God. And so, yeah, I have tons of shedding to do. And right now, you are not going to believe this. So this was back in September that I wrote that. So now I'm going to current time. Right now, it is actually February, September, October, November, December, January, February. Oh my gosh, 6 months has gone by. And I'm not kidding. I can really feel it. This right here was me on a Bible study with Christ, with these women that totally lift me up. Since that particular time, I have gone through a lot of ups and downs. Nothing like super major, but I cannot even explain it. All I know is I'm super self-conscious these days of the way I look, of my neck, of my glasses, of the gray hair that's coming in. I'm super self-conscious about still my body. I just really want to burst into tears a lot, and I don't even do that because it just it takes too much time and effort. And it's not that I don't want to cry, it's just that I just get tired of being this depressed person who lacks this confidence. It comes from just having made the wrong the wrong mistake. I've made the wrong mistake. See what I mean? It's just having made the wrong decision, maybe at work or with people, or, saying something to someone. I think I'm going to focus mostly on this particular situation. Like, it has to do with work. Like, some days I feel so good about what I'm doing, and I can walk away from the job just knowing that I've made like a difference. Obviously, that's something that's incredibly important to me. And other days I walk away from it feeling like I'm this old woman that is being, shadowed and makes terrible decisions because she thinks that she has, been through so much and had so much experience with a challenging life that I know what I'm doing. And I hate that. I know I don't always use the word hate, but I dislike it. I'm exhausted. I am emotionally and mentally exhausted because the decisions I made, like in the past, week, to some people, they're not even bad. I mean, I've even had conversations like with, you know, my boss and bosses, and, all is okay. But then when something else happens that's really little, it makes me feel like, wow, is that all I'm worth? Is to do just this menial task? I guess to me, making a difference is being used in ways that actually directly affects people. Um, when I was talking to one of my supervisors, we are so much alike because, like, when I made a mistake last week, an email was sent to me, and it wasn't a bad email. It was very, decent, but it just left me so self conscious, so feeling so guilty and so ashamed. And, I try to justify it so much by saying, but I was trying to do the right thing, and I wanted to contact my supervisor so badly and ask her if I was going to be let go. Did she dislike me now? Is she annoyed with me? And, upon telling her all that, she revealed that, there's so much of that comes with just being a female and our jobs, and how a lot of things that we do, and this was actually discussed with me by my therapist, a lot of things that I do personally actually does come from my childhood and my growing up days, and how I have like this desire and drive to protect, because that was something that wasn't actually done for me as I was growing up. So now I want to, take care of people in ways where I know they are okay. Um, it's really hard to explain. All I'm telling you is, like, right now, I'm just feeling really, really crappy. And I hate that, because I have nothing to feel crappy about. I, I'm thankful. We had a great weekend in St. Louis. I had a good weekend with my daughter. I met some amazing people. My middle daughter, stayed at our house. That was a really big deal to me. Um, you know, I was told that, I'm still doing a great job at my work, and I'm really needed, and I have good ideas, and I'm starting a volunteer job. So you can see that even when a person has a lot of things going on, it doesn't always take away from the feeling you have deep down inside. It's kind of like a person thinking that once you're rich, you are going to feel so much better because you can have access to all these things in life. And now I see where, that's definitely not the case. I think even if I had an abundance of money right now, could I make good use of it? Well, yeah. I mean, I have a credit card now that I really want to pay off. But on the flip side of that, the credit card is only like $4,500. And, to a lot of people, that's nothing. I mean, truly, that is nothing. The thing is, could I pay it off? Yeah, I could. But then that dips into what I'm trying to save. And I still think about old age and what that's going to be like for myself and how I'm going to live and survive. And I think about my daughter when I go to volleyball, tournaments with her and how I look compared to other young women that are there and how cool they look and how she has to deal with like this older mom. And yeah, that just makes me feel bad for her because, I want to be, even if I have to be this old, why can't I look good? Why can't I look stylish and hip for her? Older women, there's some that really have that ability. I've gone as far as thinking that, maybe I could get like Botox. I know you guys are just like, what the crap is she talking about? I cannot believe this goes on in Darlene's mind. Well, this is me being super transparent. I think about that. I keep taking all sorts of weight loss pills all day, every day, and maybe that's affecting my mood. I personally don't think it is. I don't want to think that. I've had my hair colored, and gray is already coming back just after like 3 weeks. I'm still trying to figure out my style, even though I don't dress old. But anyway, I think that's all I got. I have to go to the store now and grab my daughter some deodorant, and I'm gonna grab me some more green tea pills because those actually help me to abstain from wanting to eat as much during the day. I'm really sorry that this particular video may come across kind of depressing, but you're seeing who I am. I want to say one other thing. I'm still really hurt and angered by the 3 friends that I thought I had, because I know that had a lot to do with me personally not being a Christian like them and not liking our president. And, and I'm having a stupid hard time getting over that. And it's like, even if they were to come to me and say, hey, let's forget about this, I could not even, because, they showed their true colors and didn't accept me for who I was and didn't allow me like that opportunity to speak my mind and still accept me. And I think it's interesting how I'm still who I am, but they never were. Like we were really, really good friends until I finally spoke up. And I just have a hard time with stuff like that. Like, how do you just drop somebody so easily? And yeah, I mean, my daughters and I have seen it in our lives with their dad's family. And I guess that's one area of life I will not understand of people. And I think it's really a terrible way to live. And I also think that if you call yourself a Christian and you do stuff like that, I just think you're being an absolute hypocrite. And of course, that's a lot of what I thought of, that family too. Because you can't, like, preach a lot of Christ and then treat people a certain way, behind closed doors or behind social media. You just can't. So I'll just be, this crappy person up front, depressed up front, happy up front, and not really change my ways. I'm liberal. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't agree on and a lot of things I don't agree with, but I sure as heck ain't gonna play God or Jesus, because judging people is not what we're here on earth to do. And that is my platform, and now I'm really going to the store. Thank you for listening. Just pray for me, pray for others who have mental illnesses, and just really lift them up in your prayers, and remember to seek God and Christ and ask them to come into your heart and your mind, and know that with them it is possible. Jesus can't make things go away, but he can sure walk with you during the process. I know that for a fact. Thanks. Good night.